This session, as I say, is session 17, mainstreaming climate change adaptation into Mediterranean marine protected areas. This session has been co-organized by MedCities, this association of Mediterranean cities around the Mediterranean, with Carolina, which is here representing, and myself, Joachim GARRABOU. I'm Joachim GARRABOU. I'm a researcher at the Institut de Ciencias del Mar in Barcelona. I go further in the second presentation, and we have for this session a rapporteur from Plan Bleu that has been also really helpful in organizing this session, Arnaud Terris, who's going to be the rapporteur of this session. I'm going to give just 3 slides on the why this session is for us really important. It's about the background, why climate change is really important for the Mediterranean. I think that you already know that the Mediterranean is a hot spot for climate change. And in this image here, this map is showing the warming rates across the Mediterranean. And from the last 30-35 years, we have been witnessing an increase in temperature of about 1.4 degrees. This is, just to have an idea, is to have between 3 and 5 times faster than the global average of the ocean. So we are really in trouble. The Mediterranean region as a whole, we are already about 1.5 degrees in the temperature of air. So the Paris Agreement goals that we already in the Mediterranean region, we are crossing this. So it's even more important for us to take actions to slow down the warming of not going beyond this 1.5 degrees for the global mean. So this, the Mediterranean has a big problem with the climate change, and we have to tackle this problem as soon as possible and in the most effective way possible as well. And in this case, we have a solution, and marine protected areas has been identified as one of the ocean-based solutions for climate change adaptation and mitigation. And of course, this is in the framework of the biodiversity convention, biological convention diversity, and in the SPARAC, the post-2020 roadmap, and in the European Green Deal, we have this call for the 30% of protection of the ocean. And in part, this is due because the role of marine protected areas to fight the climate crisis. Not only the climate crisis, because we have the biodiversity loss crisis as well, but this is, has been a lot of highly, different reports at different levels that highlights the importance of marine protected areas to fight climate change. So what we do need for that the marine protected areas can play this role of mitigating and adapting to climate change in an effective way. Well, I pointed here 3 main issues. There are others, but we want to focus in these 3 main issues. We need more science to understand better how the ecosystems are reacting to the climate change, or where we can design or put or implement the new marine protected areas that we have to implement in the Mediterranean to reach this 30% goal. We need more monitoring efforts in an harmonized way to see what is going on with the climate change across the Mediterranean. And we need to adapt the management plans of the marine protected areas to the climate change. We need this because if we don't take into account the climate change, we can have a really nice management plan, but then the climate change is going to come and we will have a management plan that is not going to be really useful. So as many other, as all sessions have been organized to, this discussion session has been organized to provide concrete recommendations or actions for the roadmap. And in fact, they ask us, the organizers, they ask us to identify to which strategic objective and to which recommendations we want to provide an input. And these are, I'm not going to read them, but here, I guess that by now you are all familiar with the recommendations. We will be putting this later in the session. So we are focusing on strategic objective number 3, and we choose 3 recommendations. And to get the inputs from the session, the rapporteur, so Arnaud, is going to help here we have a template, an online template, and he's going to put the inputs that we are receiving from you and from the speakers to update the roadmap. So in this way, this is going to be adopted in the session tomorrow. And to provide some insights in these issues, we have two speakers, two case studies. And the first one is the spread of invasive species in marine protected areas under management by Periklis KLEITOU, who is going to tell us about the invasive species, and is going to provide insights in science and in the monitoring actions that we need. And the second case study is developing climate change adaptation action plans in the Mediterranean marine protected areas, and is going to be presented by Thomais. Sorry, Thomais, I don't remember how to pronounce your surname, but he's from Mediterranean Information Office, and he's based in Greece. So I'm going to give the floor to Periklis KLEITOU, who is going to present this first case study. Please, can we shift to the presentation of Periklis? Thank you.
Hi there. Thank you, Joachim. So you will present my presentation, right?
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Periklis.
Hi, everyone.
You know that we have 10 minutes, and then, okay, thank you.
10 minutes with some flexibility. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I share my screen now.
I think that we have your presentation, and we will be sharing your presentation in the room.
Okay.
So
okay, you want to share?
The people, just a second. Just a second. Now we have the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, my name is Periklis KLEITOU. I'm working at Marine Environmental Research Lab in Cyprus, in the Mediterranean, and also at the University of Plymouth in United Kingdom. This work that I will present is part of two projects. One, it was funded by SPARAC in Cyprus through MAPA Foundation, and the other is the RelyOnMed project that is funded by the LIFE program. It's a contribution by many people, but I will mention them in the end. Some of them are Jason, Sean, and Dimitris, who you can see in the slides. So the MPA that I will be focusing, next slide please, is the Cabo Greco area. Cabo Greco is located at the Eastern Mediterranean, so it's at the hotspot.
Can we move to the next slide, please?
It's at the hotspot of alien species, at the hotspot of climate change, at the warmest temperature of the Mediterranean, and also due to its proximity to the Suez Canal, there are many species that are introduced to the from the Suez Canal to the Mediterranean, favored by the climate change. So this situation will exacerbate in the future, will get worse. And our case study is the Cabo Greco MPA, which includes strictly protected areas, buffer zones that only commercial small-scale fishers are allowed, and some wider zone that everyone is allowed. So for this project funded by the SPARAC, if you can go to the next slide, we monitor the landing sites, and we've seen that the catches composition were mainly dominated by the alien species or non-indigenous species. So even if these were only 13 species among other 50, they contributed to about 50% biomass. So non-indigenous species are playing a major part in the ecosystems of the Eastern Mediterranean. If you go to the next slide, we can show a quite alarming situation is that the strictly protected area had a higher non-indigenous species abundance proportion compared to unprotected or partially protected areas. And also these areas.
Sorry, Periklis, just a second. The people on that Zoom is saying that they cannot see the slides in full size. So we
I can't see it.
Yeah, thank you. Now, thank you. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So the alarming situation is that the strictly protected area had higher abundance of non-indigenous species, and it's been shown that the marine protected areas, the no-take zones where fishing is not allowed, they might end up offering refuge. They might end up protecting these non-indigenous species to proliferate compared to adjacent unprotected areas. And this is something that we need to consider if we're talking about adaptive management plans. If you go to next slides, and the next slide, it's the monitoring that we did for lionfish, focusing on lionfish as part of the Reliable project. And we've seen that lionfish density as well, similar to the non-indigenous species, kept increasing from 2018 to 2020. This species, if you don't know, it's a ferocious invader. It arrived in the Mediterranean in 2012. And since 2015, it shows a rapid expansion in the Eastern Mediterranean, colonizing the entire Eastern Mediterranean, reaching Italy, Tunisia, and now Adriatic Sea. And we see that the biomass has been substantially increased during the last 2 years. Also, the size is getting larger. If you can go to the next slide, what we try to do to reduce the impact from the lionfish, we've seen that the lionfish were more in the strictly protected areas as well. And what we try to do, we motivated volunteer divers with scuba divers. We got permits from the Department of Fisheries, Fishery Department, the authority here, and we allowed some scuba divers to remove lionfish from these protected areas. So if you can go to the next slide, you can see that the sites that were culled, that we had removals, they kept stable populations of lionfish over the 3 years. But sites that were protected, like where fishing was not allowed or removals were not applied, you can see the first graph on the left, the lionfish kept increasing. The second graph, I put it because it's an interesting citizen science project where we ask sea users to send the sightings of lionfish. And the citizen science, because we're focusing on the monitoring efforts as well, we've seen this drop after removals. We've seen this drop in lionfish numbers, although there was high fluctuation in the monitoring. So we suggest that monitoring with citizen science should be applied in caution, and we should also consider we need a large sample to guide management efforts with citizen science, and also abundance data. Like we need to know how many fish are there. By only knowing that the species is there in areas like Cyprus, where all the species or the non-indigenous species are already present, we know nothing. This is the first records are good for areas where species are expanding, but then to guide management, we need more input. So if you go to the next slide, this was just a brief description of the two projects. What we learned is that the MPAs are threatened by the invasive species. We found that invasive species are more in the marine protected areas, the strictly protected areas where fishing is not allowed, but they are less in unprotected areas. So the abundance data needed for the citizen science and initiatives such as MedCities or EASIN, the EU platform, do not require abundance data, they just require reports. So we need to consider to add abundance data. Also, we compare the lionfish, I didn't show this in the slides, we compare the lionfish monitoring using two techniques. We searched the lionfish using detailed search, where a diver was searching in detail the crevices and the caves and everything. And another technique that is the conventional technique that we lay transects and we monitor the fish. And we found that the detailed search found significantly more lionfish, was quite normal, but we need to consider that we might underestimate the populations when we use conventional techniques, and we might think of using integrated techniques or use of multiple different techniques in monitoring the invasive species. Targeted removals, now that we've shown that targeted removals can be effective in lowering the populations, but this need a lot of commitment, they need a lot of sustainability and need resources. So we suggested some reforms in some papers that this can become cost effective. And we need to ensure the commitment and the sustainability. So we need to find the solutions in order to allow targeted removals to be sustainable. Apart from the ecological effects, apart from the fact that they can lower the populations, we've shown that targeted removals can also produce many social benefits. Many people are more aware. We engaged many divers in the diving community in Cyprus. And these social benefits are equally important as the ecological benefits because we increase awareness, we increase acceptance, we increase the willingness of people to act on environmental issues. So we found that people were more aware about the environment after participating in the removals. And this was one of the major benefits of these targeted measures. Apart from all this, we need to highlight that action is needed to curtail the entry of propagules, the entry of new species through the Suez Canal. And we suggest some hypersaline environment in the Suez Canal, as it was before with the Bitter Lakes. But there are some mega desalination plants that are undergoing in Egypt. Maybe we try not to use this to collaborate and find solutions to create natural barriers for these invasive species in the Mediterranean. Okay, the next slide is some recommendations on some points on the recommendations that we have. Of course, as I said, it's the cooperation between all the sea users, scuba divers, professional fishers. We found that it can be effective in lionfish. Maybe other sea users can be effective for other species, maybe for other species, such measures cannot be effective. But we strongly suggest the initiation of targeted removal schemes for lionfish, at least in the Mediterranean. And we believe that they can help control these invasive species in these priority locations, as well as providing many social benefits. Okay, next slide is about the recommendation 3.4, the need for harmonization. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, we need to initiate long-term data collection, monitoring data collections. We noticed that in the Eastern Mediterranean, there is a bit of absence. There is limited long-term monitoring. We need to establish stationary points where we can guide the management, we can provide before and after situation, and inform management correctly. We need to standardize the citizen science data collection and scientific monitoring collection. And so we need standardized monitoring methods. And I added some indicators, which I don't need to elaborate on them on the next slide. This is about my presentation, but I understand that they might be out of focus for our session. But this is number of removal schemes implemented, stakeholder engagement initiatives stakeholders engaged, the number of invasive species removed.
Periklis, thank you. I think that these indicators is something that's coming, and the important thing is that we keep the actions, and we try to discuss the actions later. I don't know if you have if you want to close your presentation now.
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you for this opportunity.
If you have an extra slide, I don't remember if you want to close.
No, that's a good. It's important to consider. It was a bit of disappointment, I would say, to see that the invasive species are not mentioned in the roadmap, and we need to consider the invasive species and their importance in the MPAs, because there are evidences which have shown that invasive species are proliferating in marine protected areas, and they might destroy the conservation benefits that we can get from this area. So we need to consider how we can adapt to this and how we can better manage these areas, especially in hotspots like Eastern Mediterranean and Levantine.
Okay, thank you very much. So we keep these two messages, main messages, the integration of the NIS, the non-indigenous species in the roadmap, and the citizen science in a general frame. So we can move to the next presentation. And while Tommy is getting ready to present, just if you have questions, we will be taking them after, because we want to have a kind of an interactive and collaborative session after these presentations. So keep your questions, write them down or put it in the chat. And if we have time or we have the opportunity to see, you will be able to post them. Okay, thank you very much. So Tommy, the floor is yours. As Periklis, you have 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to see you, even if it's virtually. My name is Thomais VLACHOGIANNI. I am a Policy and Program Officer at MIO, a Federation of Environmental NGOs. And here today, I will share with you the experience that we have in MPA Engage in supporting managers to mitigate.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tommy, because we are looking, I don't know if we are looking the presentation that Tommy is sharing myself. Or is the one that it's in the folder, because I find myself that you put an older version of my presentation. So just let her to share her screen.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
Where am I? Just a second.
Yes.
Just a second, because I thought that you will share it, but okay.
Just a second, that the people, we don't see still your screen,
Okay.
but
I think that you should be seeing it in few seconds.
Now we see your screen in Zoom, but not in the room.
Okay. And now, how do I make?
No, but she has to share it. I mean, she has to share it. We don't have to give them. She has just to share it. Yes, but we don't see it here. Can you post it? Just a second. Okay, just 1 second.
Okay. Do you see it now?
Now we see. No, we have to. You have to move to the presentation mode, because we see the speakers mode in the.
Okay. Swap to presenter. Okay. Is that correct for you?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah. As I was saying, today here I will share with you the experience that we have obtained through an Intégrer Med funded project, the MPA Engage. Here you can see some facts and figures about the project. In fact, actually, I wanted to start my presentation with a quote that I have borrowed from Kim, where actually I really liked it. He said that in the Mediterranean, we have more than 1,200 opportunities to do something about climate change, considering that the number of MPAs in the Mediterranean is more than 1,200. So I really like that quote by Kim. So the MPA Engage is capitalizing, of course, on a previous project, which is the MPA Adapt, yet another Intégrer Med funded project. It brings together an interdisciplinary group of people coming from several organizations, research institutes, NGOs, local authorities, marine protected areas in the Mediterranean. And here you can see some of these. And also it brings together 30 associated partners. And I think that this is one interesting aspect of the project that we have established.
Just a second, Tommy, because your presentation here in the room is not displaying properly. I don't know if there is a problem with the size of the slides. With the people from that is managing the session.
No problem. It's okay. It's okay.
Because we saw only 2/3 of your slides. So.
Ah, great.
No, so this is not good. I mean, you see it properly, but
just kidding.
here...
Just kidding. Okay. Let's give it some time.
Okay, sorry about this.
No, it's okay, no problem. Meanwhile, anyway, I can just perhaps talk a little bit about this interesting aspect of the project where we have established 3 forums. One brings together the MPAs, And the idea is that they will bring in their experiences and know-how, and will have the opportunity to implement different types of activities within the scope of the project. Then there is a fora that brings together the scientists of the project, and they are the ones who are providing the necessary science protocols, the methodological approach for the vulnerability assessments, and also experiences on how to operationalize measures. And then there are also policy actors in order to ensure the coherence of our project activities with the policy context. So can I go now to the next slide, or should I wait?
We are not seeing your slides. Can we get back to the? It's not possible to solve this issue. Otherwise, we can move on like this. But yes.
Just let me know what to do. And
yeah, but no. Okay, let's move on. Sorry about this, Tommy.
No worries, it's okay. So basically, the MPA Engage, as I said, aims to support MPA managers to adapt and mitigate the ongoing climate change effects in the Mediterranean, and it's implementing several lines of actions, which they kind of established what we call pilot actions. And these pilot actions have four, I would say, dimensions. The monitoring type of.
Sorry, Tommy, let's make a last try. The technical people say that you have to share your screen in the duplicate mode, not in the swap mode. So
okay, let's do that.
Sorry.
I wonder where I will do that now.
You have to quit your presentation mode and then just make a duplicate.
Oh my God. And the problem is that I don't see.
We still see your presentation in Zoom. So
okay. I will reshare my presentation, I guess.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry.
They have it in the folder now. So she has not to share it. So now we change, and now you have to say next slide, please. And that's okay.
So I guess now we have to just say that we have to go to the seventh slide.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just a second. Can we share the Tommy's presentation? Just 1 second. It's not there yet.
I see this presentation became more adventurous.
I knew that this was a challenge, moderating a session, hybrid in this room and everything, but this is getting much harder.
These things happen. It's okay. No worries.
Okay. Thank you for your patience.
This means that you will give me some extra time, I suppose.
Oh, extra time. Yeah, of course you have.
Yes, now I deserve it. No, I'm just saying that
you deserve it. Of course you deserve it.
To remove some slides initially, so now I deserve to get more slides.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still wait. Just they are making signs.
Okay.
Sorry about this.
Me personally, I can go on without slides, as you know, but okay, let's give them 1 minute.
No? If they have it in the folder, Carolina,
it is in the folder because I saw it earlier.
Yeah. I don't know where is the problem.
It is DS17 case study, and then it's my name and MPA Engage.
Yeah.
Should I try and reshare my screen, perhaps, or not?
I don't know. Just they are making signs over there, but I don't understand if this is okay or we have to change or whatever. Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on fait? Ah, now we are here. So,
Okay,
thank you.
let me see. All right.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great.
Now you.
So, okay, next slide, please.
Thank you.
So as I was saying, within the scope of the project, where MPAs, 7 MPAs, in fact, are implementing pilot actions. Those pilot actions have, I would say, 4 components. One component has to do with applying harmonized monitoring approaches to detect the climate change effects. Then the second component has to do with elaborating vulnerability assessments, again, in a harmonized way. And the third component deals with the involvement of citizens, and in particular divers, in generating fit-for-purpose data via a harmonized way. And lastly, one other major component is to deploy participatory approaches to bring together different stakeholders in order to at the end of the day, consolidate all these different components into the elaboration of climate change mitigation and adaptation plans. Next slide, please. So how are we approaching all these activities in order to, at the end of the day, reach these climate change primarily adaptation plans? So we are deploying a 5-phase planning process, and here you can see the fundamental parts of this planning process. And as you can see, there is an establishment phase, there is an analysis phase, there is a phase that deals with setting the vision, designing the future, and eventually implementing the future. Obviously, the plans are going to be generated under the 4th phase, which is designing the future, and the implementation phase is the 5th phase. So all these different parts are actually part of a continuum, and obviously these different phases can blend within another. Next slide, please. And here you can see in more detail. I will not go into details myself, but you can see what each of these phases entails. So basically, the establishment phase was more about consolidating the knowledge bases, the scientific knowledge bases, pulling together the data sets generated by the harmonized monitoring approaches and the scenarios generated by the vulnerability assessments. And then in the analysis and scenarios phase, the idea was using all this knowledge as input to try and identify potential, primarily, as I said, adaptation options. Further, when it comes to the setting the vision, the overall idea is to refine this and shortlist these adaptation options in order to decide at the end of the day which ones are more effective, feasible, socially acceptable to be included into the climate change adaptation plans of the pilot MPAs. And then the 4th phase has to do with putting all these actions into and elaborating the actual plan. So obviously it seems very straightforward and relatively simple as it looks here in this graph, but obviously when you're implementing this on the ground, it has different levels of complexity. You have to, apart from putting all these different aspects and phases together, also a fundamental portion is to engage the different stakeholder groups. And this is more challenging than it sounds. Next slide, please. So actually, within these pilot actions, we are deploying the quintuple helix approach when it comes to the participation of the different stakeholders. We have segregated the stakeholders in the different socioeconomic actors. We have the scientists, the decision makers, to some extent the citizens, and of course, at the heart of this process are the MPA managers, who at the end of the day will have the mandate to ensure that these climate change adaptation plans are being implemented. And on the right-hand side, you can see the participation matrix that we have chosen. And actually, you can see that unlike several initiatives that in the past have more been focusing on informing and maybe to some extent engaging the different stakeholders in different processes, we have opted to go all the way to empowering these stakeholders to act constructively within the overall decision-making process. Next slide, please. So basically, one of the fundamental aspects of the 5-phase planning process is how actually to harness stakeholder consensus throughout the process. And instead of trying to, overtake the different perspectives of the different stakeholders, which we fully understand that they might have competing agendas and vested interests, the idea is to bring them all together, to hear the different perspectives and different viewpoints, and somehow collectively to try and find a consensus and a point of agreement. Next slide, please. So here you can have a look at some examples of climate change adaptation options that have been considered in the elaboration of the different plans in the 7 pilot MPAs. I will not go into details. They have been clustered in different ways. Here you see that they have been clustered per vulnerability related area, but we have used also other types of classification just to facilitate the work of the MPA managers. Next slide, please. And also I wanted to assure Periklis that there is also the concept of invasive species being included in these options. And when it comes to the critical success factors and the enabling conditions, in fact, we have seen within the scope of the project, but also within the scope of similar processes, that it is of fundamental importance to set up an interdisciplinary team from the very beginning of the pilot to engage the stakeholders early, and not wait to engage them in the final phases, but also either through the citizen science initiative or through communication activities or through different roundtable discussions to engage them from the beginning, to express the intention of actually implementing this activity, so everybody feels that somehow they are part of this, of the continuum of the decision-making process elaboration. Then an additional aspect has to do with defining the roles and contribution of the different stakeholders since the very beginning, so they know what they are expected to do, what they are expected to provide. Then another important aspect that, considering the fact that I was a scientist myself, and it's quite challenging, is to ensure a good framing of the issue at stake. Oftentimes, we consider as a given a lot of things, and these things, when they are fed into a decision-making process, they're not a given at all. So scientists, we need to make an extra effort to ensure that the issue, the climate change issue that we are discussing, the different adaptation options that should be considered are framed appropriately, so they're fully understood by the different stakeholders.
Sorry, Tommy, you should move to the actions now, because
it's fine. I have 1 minute. It's fine.
Thank you.
So, and next slide, please. So here, actually, you can have a look to some additional factors of success, and then I would skip the next slide and go to my final slide, which in fact here are listed some of the actions for
next slide, please.
Be considered in our later on discussions. And these are, first of all, to support the integration of climate change issues in MPA management plans. When I refer to climate change issues, this has to do with implementing harmonized monitoring approaches, implementing citizen science activities that can generate fit-for-purpose data, elaborating vulnerability assessments based on the methodological approach that is being brought forth by the project, and of course, using this decision-making process methodology that I have presented in order to elaborate targeted and tailor-made mitigation adaptation actions. In addition to that, another suggested action would be to develop a sentinel network of MPAs to track climate change effects in the Mediterranean, to create a dedicated capacity building module that would explicitly target MPAs, but also others who are active on climate change issues in MPAs, in order to support further relevant actions. Then to compile and disseminate best practices on climate change actions implemented in Mediterranean MPAs as a source of inspiration, and of course to support the creation of a network of scientists working on Mediterranean MPAs. The scientists obviously would come from different socio-ecological disciplines. So with that, I would like to thank you for the attention, also to apologize for the technical issues, even though it was not my fault, but nevertheless, I'm really sorry that didn't run so smooth as expected. And yeah, I pass the floor back to Kim.
Okay, thank you very much, Tommy, and sorry for all these technical issues, and thank you all for your patience here online people. So now I forgot to mention that this session is organized in this first block, which is the presentation. So we just finished this, and then we are now heading the discussion section. We lost more or less 15 minutes on the discussion section as we planned, but we will try to catch up. And in fact, the actions that Tommy said that put in the presentation, you will find them again in the exercise that we are going to conduct. So if you can put back the presentation of the beginning, please. I'm going to try to explain how we plan to work for the 1 hour ahead that we have. No, yes, no, we have 45 minutes. No, we have 45 minutes. So let's try to do this fast and have a little bit of try to do it a little bit dynamic, which is quite difficult because with all these constraints. Otherwise, I can share my screen, but I don't know if do you want me to do this? But if you can share my presentation, please. Yeah. So we will be using a collaborative tool, which is Mural. I don't know if you are familiar with this. So go to the end of the presentation, to the end of this presentation. Yes, the discussion. Yeah, the discussion. So the first point that I want to raise, just the next slide, please. Okay. Sorry. Thank you. So when I was preparing, or when we were preparing this session, I was checking the roadmap document that the organization shared with us, with all of us. And I was checking about the climate change, and I make just a quick search, putting climate change, and I only found that climate change is mentioned just at the beginning of the roadmap. So for me, this is something that I wanted to share with you. I don't know if you see the same thing or you checked for this, but it's something that maybe it deserves just raising this point, that climate change is not explicitly included in the roadmap. And I think that in the climate crisis that we're now, it should be, and the role of the MPAs in this ground. So it's something that I just first raise your point, and we will see this if you agree or not during the exercise. The second is that we prepare this mural thing. So this kind of a board that we prepare. So you have here different sections in the screen, which is this is the first question that I put in green, is about the climate change, and then the recommendation and some of the actions that are already there. And the idea is that you will include if you have other suggestions or modifications, or if you agree, and we will try to do some moving around this. So I don't know if you are familiar with the mural, but it's what we are asking you is going to be quite easy. It's just that we prepared this kind of stickers here, the yellow square and the star and these two dots, so the green and the red one. And if you want to add new ones, either you can go to the select and add the stickers. So there is a toolbar in your left side. Or you can just copy and paste the stickers that are already on the board. So whatever it's easier for you. And of course, when you include some comment, please put your name, mark your name. In this way, we can track what are the inputs that you provide, and if we have further points to see with you, we can check with you. Okay. So this how, and then another point which is quite important is that we will be showing on the screen this mural, but then you can go into this mural, and to navigate through this mural, it's really important that there is this in your right hand in the bottom, there is this kind of zoom tool that you can click on the plus and the minus, and you can move the area that you are visualizing. I don't know, how many of you are familiar with the mural here in this room? Just raise your hand. Nobody is familiar with this tool? Just one. Okay, well, it's going to be challenging, but I think that we're going to make it. It's really easy. So let's hope that you are ready for this. And now what we need to do is that you connect with the mural. And for this, for the people online, it's really easy. Can you put the link on the chat of the mural? So you will be you will have a link that is going to direct you to the mural, and the only thing that is going to ask you is to include your name, or just but you don't need to register or anything. So just click on the. And for the people that are here, what we are going to do is please connect to the Zoom meeting, so as you were on online, and then you can check and you can click on the link that is as well in the chat as for the online people. So everybody then will be in the same place and able to make some comments. Okay, so the idea is that we will be once some of you can check in the mural if the people start entering, and let's see how many we are already there. Is the people online having any trouble? Just put it in the chat to connect to the mural. I see only 2 people connected. It's not working? There was a problem with the link that we put first, so just check the second one. And the people on here on site, would you be able to connect, or do you have your computers? Otherwise, you can see what the people is inserting or having ideas, and then if you don't have a computer, just raise your hand and okay.
Can you hear me? Now we have 16 people. Could you please share the link on the screen so that the participants in the room can also see the mural app? Thank you.
Okay, I see more people now, so they start to. So now we just you see that these people is moving around, so they are trying to explore the mural. This is good. So can we zoom in the first question? So in the upper top. So it's the first question that yes, go up. So this is the question. Do you think that climate change should be included in a more explicit way in the MPA's roadmap? So if you agree with this, just go and take one of those green dots. This is yes. And if you don't agree, just take the red dot that this is no. So in this way, we will see if you agree or not, and then we can send this information or this these results. So we stay here for, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes just to, the people online here on site has succeeded in connecting or not? You are not interested in saying your words here in you should, because here we are in this process of getting your opinions and your contributions in the roadmap. So it's really difficult to make this in this kind of big sessions, and we thought that this can be a good way. But let's keep it for 1 more minute, and let's see. Okay. Is anyone finding any difficulties to? You are finding some difficulties? For the organizers? Just a second.
May I see what is it telling you? This is Zoom. This is the first link. You have to go on the second link. Where did you get this link?
From the schedule.
Okay. So okay. So they're waiting to get into the Zoom link.
People, can you let the people enter into the Zoom meeting, please? Because otherwise they cannot get to the chat.
And okay, no, because now you're on Zoom.
So, as I. So people request to enter into the Zoom meeting, that the people that is here in the room. Could you please let them get in this way they can enter. Okay. Okay.
Okay, for those who are asking.
So
for the link.
just if you can put your opinion in any way. Now we are focusing here in the screen on the first question, but now when we move, you are free to go and put your answers in the different parts of the mural as you want. Just only to guide this discussion. So it seems that this first question, it's clear that most of you think that this is something that we have to take into account. So we will put this in the report of the session, and we will see what is the best way to include the climate change in the roadmap. So we can move a little bit down to the first blue line here. Yes. So the recommendations that we have been dealing with is from strategic objective 3, which is ensure MPA management structures are effective and well coordinated across government and stakeholders to improve knowledge and ensure proper management of MPAs. So if we can zoom in this recommendation 3.3, promote and implement initiatives to strengthen MPAs and stakeholder engagement, including features, blah, 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 to improve knowledge via citizen science, facilitate bottom-up management, and increase stakeholder acceptance. And if you move to your right, these are in green the actions that has been included already in the roadmap. Okay, so again, if you have have a look on this, so we can review, check this. So you have this, and if you agree with this, you can put as above a green dot, and if you don't agree with this, a red dot. And if you have other actions that you think that we can include in this recommendation, please take one of these yellow stickers and include them. Okay, so we leave you 5 minutes to check this first recommendation and actions for this recommendation. Okay, and then let's see if we can have just a larger view now to see how the people is interacting with this. Just okay, that's fine. Good. If yeah. So for the beginning, just start in the first recommendation just to see how it works, and if you think, and then we can move to the other ones. Okay. So we have 30 minutes to go, so we still have time to discuss.
Sorry, Joe, sorry, Kim, this is Periklis here. How can we add a new text over there? Should we put a yellow box?
Yes, you have the sticker, the yellow one, and then you double click in the middle, and then it should be open. You should be able to write inside the sticker.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. At least you are moving around, which is good, instead of being sitting all the time. It's a virtual movement, but it's better than. Okay. I don't see many people writing, which I don't know. Maybe it's good because this means that the actions that are already there. Here we go. We have one first sticker with text, which is good.
We have one first action.
Okay.
Somebody said, conduct socioeconomic service to engage and collect evidences that will further promote acceptance and engagement for the action 3.3.1. For the recommendation 3.3.
So maybe Periklis, we haven't had time to include your actions, but maybe you can make these two. What from your presentation you mentioned to include non-indigenous species as a kind of a key point in the roadmap. So maybe you can try to write something like this in the mural. And the other point that I see is that you put quite a lot of emphasis on the citizen science activities. Maybe you can propose something a little bit more generic, because we have to have in mind that this is going to be included hopefully in the roadmap, and we cannot have a list of 100 actions within each recommendation. So maybe if we can kind of concentrate this in one action, like, I don't know, coordinating citizen science in the MPAs across the Mediterranean, or just evaluating the role of citizen science in the marine protected areas, or something like this.
On voit plus la recommandation.
I don't know if you are checking your email or working on the mural, but that's fine. In any case, we can always ask people from the unit to explain. I'm just joking, Andrea.
Oui. But I think, but some people are moving the next time. I mean, it's but that's to stay.
So 1 minute and for this first recommendation. Who deleted the recommendation? Oh my goodness. Someone deleted the recommendation.
Yes. I will put it back.
Okay. So now we can go to the second recommendation. So if we can move a little bit down, and I'm going to read this second recommendation of the session. I don't know. Yeah. The second recommendation that we want to discuss with you in this session is the recommendation 3.4 that you can find in the roadmap document. And it's harmonize all Mediterranean initiatives related to the standardization of socio-ecological monitoring methods. So we have been discussing about monitoring in this session, which is good, and management effectiveness assessment. So it says Barcelona Convention, IMAP, and the EU directives. You know that we have this commitment, the states have this commitment to provide some report on the good environmental status, for instance, in the Mediterranean Sea. So encourage the countries to adopt and institutionalize them to ensure their use by MPA managers and researchers. So, and for this, in the roadmap, if you move to the left, to the right, sorry, we have the recommendations, the actions to achieve this recommendation. So you, as above, you have these different recommendations. There are a little bit more here in this case. And you can, as above, you can include your comments. I see that it's good because I see that there is an evolution. So instead of using the yellow sticker to put comments and the dots to agree or disagree, the people make a shortcut, which is great. So they take the green dot and make the comment there. So this means for me agreement and the comment on this. So it's even better. Okay, so we'll give you 5 more minutes for this. Thank you for your efforts. I know that it's not easy to concentrate now in this, but I think that's a really nice input that we are going to give to the people that is working on the roadmap. How are you? And people online, we are more than 30 people online, or we were more than 30 people online just a few minutes ago. And Periklis, you managed to put these actions that I discussed with you, or?
I add some. I added some.
Okay.
I added 3 above, 1 here. I will add 1 point.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I'm happy. I mean, I think that we should be happy. There are quite a lot of comments and a lot of movements around the board. So this is going to be, I don't know if Arnaud is going to be happy because he has to include all this information in the reporting template, but I think that it's good. We will work together on this, and I think that it's nice. So 2 more minutes for this recommendation, and then we will move to the last one, and then I'm going to ask you the last effort, which is going to be, I think that easier than the one that we are doing now, and then we will be closing the session on time. Okay. Oh yeah, yeah, we're 29 online users. So, is there any comment in the chat that I mean, someone that?
Yeah. Can I say it anyway?
Yeah, just mention that there is this comment that if
Yeah.
someone
Yes.
wants to. Yeah.
So Periklis mentioned in the chat that he has been asked to transfer a message from Dr. Bella Galil and Dr. Gianna Innocenti, that the Mediterranean region is a climate change hotspot, and biota within and without MPAs is already responding to the higher temperature. Massive mortality events followed marine heat waves, establishment and spread of thermophilic invasive alien biota, and change in the depth of distribution of colder water native biota have already been documented, and references have been provided. So these processes are already underway, and nullifying conservation goals in the Mediterranean, according to Dr. Galil and Dr. Innocenti. So successive MMEs are already decimating precious slow-growing biota in northern Western Mediterranean, and dominating in terms, thermophilic invasives are dominating in terms of species richness and biomass, the local biota within MPAs in southern and eastern Mediterranean. So they said that they hope that this forum, and especially this session, is ready to discuss appropriate policies and effective management.
Okay. In any case, if you want, it's in the chat. So if anyone has wants to have a closer look, just they can take it. Yes, yes, Fabio. Just before Fabio, I'm going just to move to the last recommendation, and then I give you the floor. Okay. So we can move to the last recommendation. So the orange one. So again, here the only difference with the former ones is that so the recommendation 3.5 is about the need of more connection between the scientific community and the MPA managers. So there were 2 in the, if you move to the right, well, like this, I don't know how make it this. Yeah, okay, that's so these are the 2 actions that were included in the roadmap, and the following ones, the ones that are after these 2, they are the ones that were proposed by Tommy. Maybe they are not completely in line with this recommendation, but I mean, it's just that we take advantage that we have this actions already written. So if you want to make comments or agree on this, that's fine. So Fabio, please. Just a second. The microphone for him. No, you don't have to touch anything. Usually, no. Again.
That this is working. I just want to say that the inclusion of climate change should be not limited to the adaptability of MPAs, but if we want to achieve the 30% target, it means that some new MPAs will be established and some will become bigger. And so we need to know exactly where conditions will be suitable for this. Otherwise, we risk to place new MPAs in areas which are going to be boiling in 10 or 20 years. So I think this is quite crucial to create a an effective network of MPAs across the Med. So I believe adaptation is key, but also we need to be thinking to where new MPAs could be working properly.
Yeah, I mean, the design on how we are going to implement this and raise the ambition of protection, we have to take into account the climate change. Otherwise, it's going to be not effective. Yeah.
And probably in this process, we need to take into account climate change scenarios, because otherwise.
Okay. There is Mar Otero from IUCN that wants to. In the meantime, if you want to still work on the comments, Mar. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Kim. Yeah, I just following on that, because we also thinking all the time about this climate change and how it's going to be in the designing of MPAs. But at the same time, we also have the framework that we want a representative MPA in the whole Mediterranean. But actually, where climate change is hitting more is in the Eastern Mediterranean. So I get the feeling that if we're trying to make climate change as big part of the MPAs, in the selecting MPAs, we may have to forget one part of the Mediterranean. And maybe I am provocative on this comment. I just wanted to be sure when we are addressing this kind of selection and how the climate change is going to impact and what this is going to affect in the selection of MPAs, if we have, how we're going to put this in a way that we still cap the representativity on it. Thank you.
We can see different scales of variation in space. So for sure, the southeastern basin is warming up more rapidly, but there is also variation at a smaller scale. So within a region, there are still areas which can be more suitable than others. And of course, this means the evaluation of all the socioeconomic aspects in the planning of new MPAs. But there is variation at different spatial scales. From what I know, some areas of the southeastern, right now, there are not that many native species left. So Guy Rilov, that is working that area, says that most of the species now are actually introduced. So there is a big difference between regions in the Med, but I think it can still be taken into account at the regional level.
Yeah, I mean, we need this information and we need to take this into account. It's not an easy issue because maybe we have to change a bit our perspective and not more going, for instance, in places where there is a lot of changes, shifts. It's more preserving functions and not the biodiversity, because there's something that is going to be difficult. But in any case, taking this into account, I think that it's meaningful to do it for many aspects. So 1 minute more, and then we will go for the last part of the exercise. And thank you all for your inputs. Your homework is growing and growing, Arnaud. So. And the last one, I think that is going to be easier even, because what I'm going to ask you in 30 seconds, or I can already start telling you, is that you see that in each line, you should find there was a star. It disappeared, the star? Yes, of course.
So we have here a question from Ernesto Azzurro to Periklis. He said, a very good presentation. Did you include in your project any action to improve the market potential of lionfish in Cyprus? The market potential of lionfish in Cyprus, what about that?
Periklis, I guess that he's still there.
Yes. Hi there. Hi, Ernesto. Yes, it did. Market approach is one of the major actions that we undertaking. We believe that market-based approach for non-indigenous species could be a solution to limit the damage. We're not going to get benefits, but we can limit the damages. But I didn't present those efforts in my presentation because I focused on the no-take zone, no-take zones, or where fishing is not allowed. But yes, we follow the fishing market-based approach. We're trying to promote non-indigenous species in the market. And actually, from the recent project that we had with Sparak, we noticed that the recreational fishers are very unfamiliar with the catch. They don't want to catch. They don't target non-indigenous species, and they prefer to catch trophy species like groupers, native species that have been here for centuries. Apart from rabbit fish, which is an exception. Yes.
Okay. So we are heading now the end of the session, and I'm just for this last part in the mural there is on the left hand you have the stickers, and in each row somehow for each recommendation there was a star. I don't know if this appear. Where is the star here? Can you put it back, Arnaud? It's very small. Oh, it's here. Okay, so the people can see it. So the idea is that the people that it's connected online on the mural just have 3 stars per row, and just put the start on those actions that you think that are the priority ones for you. I mean, and then we can see what are the priorities. So there are different colors of the star for each row, but I mean, the idea is that you put the stars, 3 stars per person, at least 1, and then we will see how it's going on. And we can do 3 stars per row, so kind of identifying 3 priorities for each recommendation. It doesn't mean anything because all the actions, I guess, that they are going to be included in the roadmap. But the idea of this is that if we have to implement something first, at least we will have some kind of guidelines to do this. Okay. So just take 1 or 2 minutes for this, and then we will be closing. And then we will have lunch, and we can even take a rest. The idea of the stars is not put it on the recommendation, it's putting on the actions, because the recommendations, I mean, are quite generic, and okay, if you agree with this, is something that you already put your green light there, but the idea is to identify what can be the priority actions. Okay. I think that this you did a great job already. So maybe this final exercise on prioritizing was not suitable, but in any case, we have 5 minutes to close the session, and I just take this time if anyone wants to make any comment on the session or on the things that we have been discussing. No. So I think that I haven't had the time to look on the comments, but we will take the time to have a look on them this afternoon. But I think that there were quite a good ideas already during the presentations and in this during this exchange of interventions. So thank you very much for your attention. Yes. The board, yes, we can. I think that we can download the mural like this in a PDF, and we can share it if you want. And yeah, so we can share this with you. So yeah, this is a good point. Thank you. So, and in this way you can see what is the final outcome of all these efforts. Okay. So thank you very much for your attention. And I know that we have lunch now, and the people, and the next session, it starts at what time it starts? At 4. At 2 o'clock. Okay. Thank you very much. If you want to join, still work on this, you can. We are not going to close this. We will be closing this in, I don't know, this afternoon. So you want to still refine things or put your priorities, I'm going to do it. So if you want to do it as well, please do it. Thank you very much.